Welcome to Botanical Trails Through the Juniper Forest. I'm your host, Brian Heater. Each week, I'll have a different guest join me to explore a pair of interesting gins. We'll chat a little bit about the gin and the distilleries, throw in a bit of trivia, hopefully laugh a bit, and then we'll go off the beaten path. Although I say that this is a podcast about gin, really this is just an excuse for me to spend time with my friends. But that'll just be our secret. Okay, let's start exploring. My guest for episode 18 is my sister, Amie Heater. Amie, thanks for making quite the trip. You're my second out-of-state guest in a row.
Yes, I'm happy to be here and spending this Thursday afternoon right before school starts for the kids with you.
Yes, it's great. So you came, you live in Madison, Wisconsin, so you made the drive over. So, and so what we're going to do today for our gins is go to the land of the Cheeseheads. And we are trying 2 gins from Wisconsin. So I think this is the first time both the guest and I have probably tried both of these gins. I'm not positive that you've tried the second one, but I know for sure you've tried the first.
Okay.
So originally, I was going to come up with like 3 true and false questions right now that I was going to ask you for the first time, but they were all going to be based around you either saying that I'm the best brother in the world or your favorite brother. But I decided not to do that. However, if you want to work that in at all during the podcast today, feel free. No, our first gin today is Des Door, which you introduced me to. Actually, you originally introduced me to Des Door vodka, which is how I became familiar with that distillery. So give this a try. I've made it a little bit different, and then I'll tell you why and how I did that.
Tasty.
It is so good. So, I do have to say, Des Door gin was the first gin I really started drinking that was like outside of like the Tanqueray Bombay Sapphire thing. And it is still one of my just favorite gins. So, and in doing the little bit of homework for today, I discovered, I think of all the gins I've done, this has the fewest botanicals.
You can tell because as it's been a while since I've tried this one, and it's so smooth and almost I don't want to say non-distinct, but I can tell what you're saying. It's
just very subtle. So there are only 3 botanicals in it. One of them, of course, being juniper. The other 2 are coriander and fennel. So, so Des Door, this came out in 2006. It was originally brought out by Des Door Distillery. So they, unfortunately, went under in 2017 or 18. I just remember your husband, Andy, sending me like a note. And I'm pretty sure I cried that entire night, and I went and lit a candle the next day. But someone bought like the rights to that gin. It's called Dancing Goat Distillery. They are located in Cambridge, Wisconsin. I'm not sure where that is.
Oh, that's nearby.
Is it? Okay.
I didn't realize. To Madison, anyway.
Yeah. So they began distilling in 2014, and they kind of took over producing Des Door Distillery in 2019. So I followed their recipe. So normally in the past, whenever I've had this, I've always put lime in it. They said the best way to enjoy this gin and tonic is with a good tonic, an orange wheel, and a sprig of mint. I completely forgot to get a sprig of mint yesterday. But this is with orange in it. And the tonic I used today is the Fever Tree, the light blue premium light. I think it's their Indian water tonic. So, but it's just great. So my favorite thing about Des Door, well, it was the distillery originally, is where the name comes from. And do you remember what it is?
It's a passage in between the tip of sort of Door County Peninsula and the crossing to Washington Island, I believe.
Yes, exactly right. Yeah, it tells the story of Washington Island. It takes its name from Des Door Passage, which separates, just like you said, Washington Island in Lake Michigan from the Door County Peninsula. It's considered one of the most treacherous waterways in the Great Lakes. where the cold water of Lake Michigan meets the warm waters of Green Bay. And it creates severe currents, which have caused hundreds of shipwrecks. So the gin itself kind of slants towards a London Dry profile. The Gin Is In describes it as a surprisingly simple, well-crafted gin with attention to detail at every step. They said people who really like classic gins would probably really enjoy this gin. So, like I said, it is now with Dancing Goat Distillery in Cambridge, Wisconsin. They, in addition to this, they produce brandy, some whiskeys, and 3 pie-themed liqueurs, cherry, apple, and cow. And I was like, what is a cow pie liqueur? And it is a combination of Wisconsin dairy cream, chocolate, caramel, vanilla, and rum. That is their cow pie liqueur. So, but I will be forever grateful for you introducing this to me and for Dancing Goat to continue to produce it. So.
Yeah, I'm glad they picked it up. You know, I'd kind of forgotten about them, knowing that they were getting bought off. Or I like how you said went under, because we're talking about a distillery that was named after where many shipwrecks happened. So it's clever. But anyway, yeah, I'm glad that they resurrected them, and it's good to meet it again.
Yeah. So real quick, since this is up near Green Bay, obviously one of the first things I need to ask you is, now that Aaron Rodgers has finally left, Wisconsin Jesus is gone. He's gone to the Big Apple. Will you revert to your roots and cheer for the Lions this year?
Well, that's so funny. Remains to be seen. What was fun, for those of you who don't know my history with football, which how would you? It was a way to bond with Brian growing up. And so I would watch U of M games and Detroit Lions, and learned pretty quickly there was far less return rooting for the Lions because they lost all the time, which I just thought was just, is it masochistic when you like self-harm, or is it sadist?
Isn't it masochistic? I think sadists like to hurt people.
Yeah, so anyway, it felt like just a waste of energy. U of M was worth rooting for, but anyway, you left the house. I sort of outgrew that that form of connection with you.
Right.
You were gone. So
yeah, because what also happened was I left and I went to Michigan State. And there I saw the light, and I could have gotten you to cheer for the correct team.
But the green and white, you'd never get me there. But
well, that was our school. Do you know those are my school colors from kindergarten all the way, my entire education, green and white. It made it super easy for the wardrobe growing up.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. I even went to root for Green Bay because there's the green, but the gold was interesting. But anyway, I'm coming home from teaching a yoga class. This is like 10 years ago, probably. And Andy's got a game on, and I sit down and I'm like, oh my God, it's the Lions and the Packers. And so I just sit down and, you know, I know the game well just from watching it with you for so long. And the Lions are winning. And I'm like, wow, what is happening here? Do they win? And so it's like right at the end of the game, and this guy who I learned was named Aaron Rodgers just like throws this Hail Mary, as I learned, as that's called.
You're talking about, yes.
And it was caught in the end zone, and they won. And I remember texting you.
Yes.
Like resurrecting the football sharing ritual. And so Aaron Rodgers brought me back into football because that was truly an amazing moment to witness. And then I started paying attention, and I was like, oh my God, I'm becoming part of the Green Bay cult. And
which Lori dabbles in as well with those like friends from work.
You come live there. You see if you can get out of it.
No, I totally get it. I totally understand. I mean, it's just like being here.
I'm just laughing because, believe me, I was like, we're rooting for a team that's named after meat packers. Like, how much do you want to be laughed at? However, I have come to appreciate Wisconsin deeply, living there for a long history of people's connection to the place and through land. Of course, we're talking about many years before the white settlers were there. But what sort of continued is Wisconsin is largely an economy that's based on people's connection to the land more directly through agriculture of some form. So I learned the love of cheese. I did not even understand all the differences, and I am a total cheese snob now. I rarely eat cheese from anywhere but Wisconsin, France, California. Vermont makes the cut. But anyway, it happens to you, and probably if you live there, you might become a Green Bay Packers fan. However, this is an interesting moment, right? Because they're making a big shift.
Yep.
So we'll see.
And the lines might be on the come up.
Yeah, so maybe I'll just go back.
Could be a change in, you know. But you also got to go to a game at Lambeau, right? Mm-hmm. That's pretty cool.
Yes.
And Lori has been there, which is slightly... I need to get there someday.
It was fun. Yeah. It's great to come together in... I love big events where there's a lot of joy happening.
Yeah.
It's kind of like one of my things. And it can happen through football. It can happen through going to India for the Kumbh Mela festival. It can happen through rock shows. Like, that's always been part of my... but I didn't expect that level of joy and camaraderie and fun. Stepping into a football stadium, because I would say I don't usually circulate in those places, but I had a really good time. Yeah, it was so cold. It was beyond incredibly cold.
Yeah, I went to
and everybody was so jazzed to be there. Yes. And yeah, it was worth it.
Cold games can be fun, but yeah, I went to the it's the New Year's Day game that they play in hockey now on NBC, and I went to see the Red Wings play the Toronto Maple Leafs at Michigan Stadium. And it was January 1st, and it was freezing. And I think I had like 4 layers of stuff on, and we were still just freezing. So, yeah.
I think part of the camaraderie is, seriously, you need to huddle with strangers just to like get through it.
Yeah. But just to last through that misery.
Yeah. But it was good. They lost, and... but I got to see one touchdown and the fireworks kind of happen all around the perimeter of the stadium.
Do they always shoot off fireworks then if there's a touchdown? Because I don't think you get that from TV. Like, they're showing they're showing the Lambeau Leap and blah, 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 and they don't show the fireworks.
I appreciated seeing that one time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So speaking of rock shows real quick, what was that horrible band that you wanted to see that Mom wouldn't let you go to the concert at Wing Stadium unless I took you, but you totally lucked out because they were opening for Billy Idol, who I wanted to go see?
She didn't want me to go see Faith No More?
She wasn't going to allow you to go without me.
Oh, well, thank you for that.
Yes, and I was just like, well, Billy Idol's opening, I would go. And then actually, I think Lori went with us. I'm pretty sure that is the only time the three of us have ever gone to a rock concert together. Well,
it was Faith No More.
Is that who it was?
And that was band. Mike Patton's sort of band that really shot him to fame. But I will say I've continued to be a Mike Patton fan. He's very...
How should I know him?
Theatrical. You should check out Mr. Bungle.
Mr. what?
Bungle.
Is that another
That
band?
was a band that he also was a collaborator in, a lead singer, but I would say more of his true colors came out. And it is, for those of you that might wear a freak flag or be kind of weird here, you might appreciate what some of those creations were. Mr. Bungle. But anyway, thank you, because that was my introduction to him and his energy and his theatrics. And yeah, it was like sort of grunge, rock, hip-hop mishmash.
Wow, that seems much different than the Faith No More group.
Well, no, that's what the Faith No More group was.
Oh, they were?
I would call it that. And that's what the 90s was. It's like, it was such a conglomerate.
I didn't like them. I enjoyed some of the grunge bands. I didn't care for...
But you add like hard rock element, you add
that's why
grunge, and you add hip hop together.
No, it's the hard rock thing. That's why. I've never been like a hard rock. You're right. That's exactly what I associated them with.
Yeah. Anyway. Yes.
Yeah.
Faith No More.
Do you know they're building a new, downtown, arena concert place in Kalamazoo?
No.
So the K-Wings are going to move downtown. I think Western's basketball team is going to start to play downtown, and then they're going to have a concert. So it'll be similar, or I think the hope is that it will be similar to what Van Andel Arena did for Grand Rapids, where it just injects new life into the air. Although I have to say, in my opinion, downtown Kalamazoo right now is much more vibrant than what downtown Grand Rapids was at the time when we got the arena. There was just not much to do at all, like before that arena opened in downtown Grand Rapids. But I feel that there's a decent amount to do in downtown Kalamazoo right now, even without that arena there.
Well, I'm curious to know what your top shows were that you saw at Wing Stadium.
Oh, well, I only saw a couple, but my favorite, and it was the first like rock concert. Yeah, I went and saw the Beastie Boys License to Ill tour there.
So cool.
Yes, that was amazing.
I was so young.
Yes.
The penis got erected on stage.
Yeah, people were like freaking out over it.
Freaking out.
A girl's hair caught on fire because she had like just like big hair, and I'm sure she had a bunch of hairspray, and she was like lighting. How'd that work? She lit a cigarette, or someone was lighting a cigarette near her. Her whole hair didn't burn, but like part of it caught on fire, and I watched that. And then someone obviously was like pre-gaming a bunch, and they puked. And then someone like, so this is like probably 86. So someone threw a quarter in there. So a quarter could go a lot further back then. Like you could play a video game, you could buy a pack of gum. Someone threw a quarter into the puke to see if anyone would be desperate enough to get a quarter out of the puke. Just terrible. So, but in all honesty, those might be the only two like concerts that I went to at Wing Stadium. I've went to a number of like hockey games and stuff there, but I think those might be the only two concerts like I saw there in Kalamazoo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then I saw like some shows downtown. I saw Stephen Wright, the comedian, like downtown at the Kalamazoo Theater with Greg Sighthamel. And that was a good show. So,
well, I saw some great shows there. And I actually also got to see, well, maybe the first show that I saw there, it's a little hard to place timelines. But Jane's Addiction for Ritual de lo Habitual was pretty fantastic. I got to see Nirvana there.
That's amazing.
About 2 months before he died.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
And actually, it was kind of hard to witness because I was such a huge fan. I was a senior, I remember, and but oh my God, like his presence on stage, you could tell there was no joy. There was no, there was like something very vacant about his presence and like going through the motions. So I was super happy to be there and was celebrating, but there was something in me that was like, ugh. Like, it's hard to see like one of your favorite bands and be like, oh, you don't want to be here.
Yeah, this
like at all.
You're not having fun.
And so when the announcement came, I think it was April actually, so like 3 months later, that he died. He died by suicide. I was like not surprised.
Yeah.
Sadly.
Nirvana and the White Stripes are two groups I wish I would have always had a chance to like see in concert and didn't. Like I think both of those would have been good shows.
But one of the best shows I saw there was I got to see the Beastie Boys, but Check Your Head.
Oh,
and
nice.
it was like I have like very few. You just walked in and the place was just. I mean, it was like vibrating. Yeah, you know, with excitement, and to see them in that era at that time was yeah,
they were a pretty amazing group, and they had really good longevity.
So fun.
Yeah, that's awesome.
A lot of joy and a lot of just like. Yeah, it was such a way as a youth to kind of like just, I don't know, come together and move and celebrate and like dance off a lot of your angst. And
yeah.
Like, it was great. It was great. But anyway, Wing Stadium, thank you.
That's awesome. Yeah, nice. All right, are you ready for round one of trivia?
Okay.
All right. Okay. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Which brand launched a version of Old Tom Gin in 2007? Gordon's, Heyman's, or Seagram's? And I will give you a hint if you want.
Gordon's.
Okay, so you didn't want the hint. Okay.
Was my intuition correct?
No, I was going to say, we did this gin in... In episode 6 with Andy, we did the Heyman's Old Tom Gin.
Oh.
So, yeah. Anyhow.
Okay.
But
sorry about that.
No, you're fine. It doesn't matter.
Sometimes I just
it was
pop
good.
off.
I just like that you were like, I don't care about what your hint is. All right. We're going to try the 2 gins, and I will make our next cocktail. So we will take a slight break and be right back. Okay, we are back for segment 2. We're going to do little samples of both gins. So since we ended the first segment with Death's Door, we can give this a try. I did add a couple of drops of water, so
thank you.
It's just a sipper. You don't have to shoot it, so just give it a little taste and see what you think.
The water helps.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty smooth.
Very smooth.
How did you describe this during intermission?
Like just really crisp and clear.
Yeah, crisp and clear. That's a good way to describe it. So I do have to say, one thing that surprises me about Dancing Goat doing the gin is why don't you also do the vodka? Because it's the same base alcohol, and their vodka was also delicious.
Interesting.
So I'm just kind of surprised that they didn't also, like, you just can't get Death's Door vodka anymore. It doesn't exist. So it's only the gin.
Interesting.
But I just, why don't you just, it's the same.
Would they have had to pay more?
I don't know. But I mean, I get, okay, maybe good point. So maybe they're like, maybe the gin was the better seller and they're like, well, we'll buy this. But it's just kind of like, it would be like, I want to buy your chocolate chip cookie recipe, but also we like this really good cookie, but there's no chips in it. And it's the same, it's the same frickin' recipe.
But you're kind of like making the same point, because I don't want the cookie without the chips.
No, but some people really like the cookie without the, I'm just saying, like, I'm just saying you're basically making that cookie and then you're adding the chip. You're making the vodka and then you're adding the botanicals to make the gin. Anyhow, it doesn't matter. So, okay. Our second gin is another distillery that you've introduced me to, and this is one right from your hometown in Madison. It is State Line Distillery. They do a couple of gins. We are going to do their London Dry edition.
Okay.
So this is their London Dry. So, I was going to do the little taster first and give that a sip and see what you think of this. There's definitely a little bit more going on with that.
For sure. Again, the water helps. I don't think I'd ever try gin straight without water now, because I can taste the different
It unlocks some of the botanicals.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
It does. I see this. Really different profile.
Yes, it is different. This is their London Dry. They have, it's at least 6 botanicals. I think it's more, but I couldn't find anything that like listed them out. Mm-hmm. So, but I'm not exactly sure. I know the London Dry Gin is a newer edition for them. Mm-hmm. So they had this down there last year or 2 years ago when we went to visit you in Madison, but it was not there originally. So they opened in 2017. They have an American Dry version of their gin. I am not going to lie. I struggle with that gin.
The American Dry?
American Dry, because one of their botanicals is sage. And I don't know. It's like a slight turnoff for me. However, luckily for me, my buddy Jerry, guest on episode 1, loves it. And so whenever I somehow end up with a bottle of the American Dry, I'll gift it to him because he really likes it. So, but I was thrilled when I saw that they came out with this London Dry version. Mm-hmm. And this, for me, is my favorite gin of theirs. So they describe it as their expression of the old world style of a London Dry. It also packs a punch. It's 94 proof. I don't usually check, but they were kind of talking about how it is. So the distillery itself opened in 2017 in Madison. They describe themselves as Madison's first grain-to-glass distillery. They use fresh and local ingredients to craft spirits that are uniquely Wisconsin. Mm-hmm. And they also say that they have an award-winning cocktail lounge on site. I'm not going to lie, I tried to call them last night for 2 reasons. 1, I wanted to find out exactly what the award was because I couldn't quite find it online. And 2, I wanted to find out what do they garnish their cocktail with because they don't have a gin and tonic recipe on their list of recipes. I could only leave a message, and they open at like 5 Madison time, so I knew they wouldn't get back to me today, so I don't know. But what I think it is they were in a Best of Madison 2022 winners of some different things, and one of them was a cocktail that they had called Smoke Lounge, if I remember correctly. I think it's a whiskey-based drink, but I think that's how they said that they were award-winning place there. They do 3 gins. They do their London Dry, which we're having today, their American Dry, which was their first one, and they also make a barrel gin, which is, I believe it's their American Dry that they then age in whiskey bottles. So, and then they also make vodka, rum, coffee liqueur, whiskey, and aquavit, and aperitivo. But they have a really cool little distillery. It is within walking distance of your place, the new house, which is amazing.
Yes. Right off the Yahara River. I can walk the railroad tracks right to their back door.
I know the path from your house to that distillery. So let's give this a try. So the cocktail I made is a gin and tonic with Mediterranean tonic and then a little bit of lime. Oh.
I like it.
It's good.
It's good, and I like this pairing in the way that it's a little less sweet than our last one. Or maybe it's just the fact that they have more going on, both with potency and the added botanicals. So
yeah, and the tonic is also a little different. Like this tonic brings a little bit more to the party, I would say. But yes, but even the gin itself, just tasting the two, like that gin just had a little bit more going on with it. So
I love State Line. I love going there. The atmosphere is great.
It's a dog-friendly place, right? If you're ever in Madison.
Dog-friendly.
They have a nice outdoor patio.
Queer-friendly. It's trans-friendly. But it's... And you know, anybody can come.
But didn't they also use, like, a bunch of, like, wood from an old barn or something? Like, the inside of it is also, like, a really cool setup. Yeah, it's one of my favorite places to go.
And it's cozy. It's like you're on this like Court Street. It's called North Court, I think. Sorry, I should know. I seriously just like walk most of my neighborhood, so I don't have to pay attention to street names as much. Isn't that wonderful? I live a village life on the Isthmus of Madison.
Yeah.
But it's just really cozy and welcoming. I often walk Elsa in front of their establishment during bingo night because
Elsa is your little elk hound.
Yeah. Norwegian
looks like a mini wolf. Super cute.
She does look like a mini wolf. Yeah, people get kind of scared about that. But anyway, I love the atmosphere there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
Well, I can't thank you enough for introducing me to both of these distilleries. I enjoy both of them, both of their gins. So, win on your part. Nice job. So.
Thank you.
So do you know after Lori was on, I didn't tell you this, after Lori was on, pretty much every time I talked to Mom, it was, are you having my favorite child on next? When is your favorite child coming on? She didn't list you as your favorite child, but we all know you're her favorite child.
Whatever.
But she would constantly be like, when's Amie coming on? I'm like, we're working on it.
I just for people who don't know, I'm the one that gave her grandchildren.
Yeah, you win.
So I was sort of the estranged child, and then I'm
definitely third on the pecking order. You get the grandkids. Lori is just mini mom.
Are you kidding? You are third on the pecking order. Whatever.
It is you with grandkids. It is Lori who's mini mom. It's like they clone Mom.
You're the son.
Right. Growing up in the house where Mom was always like, men are useless.
Well, you got your feminist indoctrination, which is why you're really wonderful in so many circles. But I kind of feel bad for you in that. Yeah, because you were like one of the solo male people around. Like when I talk,
that's okay. I made up for it by going to my aunt's house every weekend and having a female dog, so it was no problem at all.
Thank God for Jimmy Garzaloni.
Yes.
That's all I gotta say. Shout out to you, Jimmy. Anyway, I grew up in a matriarch, but I'm so glad that you were there.
Well, thanks.
Yeah, because you're rad.
So, as listeners of the podcast may know, not quite 2 years ago, you and I went to Morocco, and you're going back this fall.
Yes.
Basically kind of doing the same tour that we had done before. When we went, what was your favorite part of that jaunt through Morocco?
It's hard to say.
Okay, you can list your top 3. You don't have to say
Okay. Well, of course, for me, I feel that Morocco has the lighting game down.
The what game?
Lighting. The way they light spaces. I'm huge into lighting. Like how cultures...
Like lamps and stuff you're talking about?
How cultures light their spaces is a reflection to me of some of their qualities of the... what I can say about that is Morocco is, to me, a country of creatives, and... a lot of aesthetic is built into the space, but the way that they light their spaces is so inviting and cozy. So that sticks with me. Of course, the Sahara was just otherworldly, and you see pictures and you just see this sea of sand, but until you're there, it's difficult to describe both the scope, sort of even what you're walking on, and this sort of ancient, for anybody who has sensitivity, just walking in a space and kind of feeling the legacy of land. Like, it has so much history.
So many supply trains and stuff had gone. I mean, just
the levels
think about it.
of history unfolding there, but also the fact that it's kind of like this mini mountain range of sand. Like, I think the desert is flat, and it's certainly spacious and arid and tons of sky, but it's like mountains of sand.
Yeah.
That is something I'd never encountered. And then, the third thing was just, I guess...
Oh, you don't have to list 3. I would just...
Oh, well, the levels of fossils and minerals, if there were some rock
You're
hounds...
totally saying that for Todd.
No. I'm saying it because it's fascinating, and to be in a space that is so rich in that way, too, geologically, I loved encountering that land. I'm so excited to go back.
That'll be super interesting. Are you are you going back through the Atlas Mountains like we did on the way back? And are you staying at the same place?
That's the plan. Yeah. Things, the nature of international tours and things can shift. However, we're going back through similar routes. Yeah.
Now, do you and Sammy have your own little company for doing this, or you guys just sort of do this?
I sort of work as an independent contractor, coming on as an associate guide, but Samia Shalaby, whom I came into doing this cultural tour work with, she created a company called Ancient Footsteps Tours because she just wanted to bring people into some of the favorite places she's visited. She has extensive travel experience of the past 20 years, so it's a real delight to travel with her. And she's also very rooted in bringing people to places they probably wouldn't go by themselves or visit by themselves, because it is such a faraway and sort of distant culture that she's exquisite. She has a real art form with travel. I recommend checking out Ancient Footsteps Tours anytime, and I get to join her in Morocco, which is wonderful.
Well, that's awesome. I was really hoping you were going to say one of your top 3 things was you got to be my roommate for 2 weeks.
Sorry. You saw my eyes go outward and like the landscape and the sky and the earth, but
when you said lighting, I'm like, oh, I'm totally losing out on this.
Rooming with you and sharing that with you and Lori and Todd was fun to discover that place together for the first time, because I'd never been there.
Oh, yeah. If you guys weren't going on that trip, I would have never gone there, for sure. There's no doubt in my mind. Yeah. I wouldn't have been there. But what I was going to say, well, hoping that you were going to list me in your top 3, are you jazzed?
That's the second time that word is coming up, because I already said it too.
I love that word.
It must be in our lexicon. Family lexicon.
For sure. Okay. When I left Amway, they were like, save a bunch of your, because I'd been there a while. And they're like, save your stuff. And I created a file, and I titled the file Brian's Jazz. You're going to get to be my roommate again in about 5 weeks when we take Mom on the river cruise. So are you excited for that, or are you and Lori secretly negotiating the background to have to be stuck with me?
Oh, no, I'm totally excited. Yeah, for sure. We get to do our pillow talk.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that'll be so fun. That'll be a fun trip. So, one thing I did want to ask you, because about a year ago, when I was first kind of like kicking around this idea and stuff, you had approached me with an idea that I very seriously considered forbidden. I don't know if you remember what the idea was. Your idea was each episode there should be a segment called Potty Break. And it was going to be telling like weird like public restroom stories. Do you remember this?
Oh my God, are we sharing this on the podcast now?
So one, did you remember that? And two, if you want, and by no means do you have to, but did you have like what was going to be like your first story? Because originally the idea was like I was going to like call you every episode and be like, it's time for a potty break. And it was going to be like one of these weird stories.
Oh, well.
But you don't have to tell it if you don't have one, but I was just curious.
No, I mean, the idea really is like, it's not about like, there's just places.
Yeah, not that it happened to you.
Go
either.
to the bathroom in bars or just these spaces that, you know, people have been gathering a lot, and you know they hold a lot of stories. And so really the thing I want to start, maybe, this was just an idea, who knows, somebody might run with it. Well, you're welcome, because I'm an ideas gal. But is sort of, I didn't know that I don't think I would have called it Potty Break, but the Bathroom Chronicles, where anonymously people can submit either things that they've heard or witnessed in certain bar spaces in bathrooms. And it's not always about puking or pottying. Like, a lot of things happen in there. And then people would just talk about those stories or things that were written on the walls, or like what those spaces sort of, I don't know, they're like a world all their own. And particularly, like, I was in a very old bar in Belgium. I think it's from the 12th century.
Is this when you and Andy and the girls were like going down from like Denmark down to France?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. We were in Belgium, staying in the old city square. And we went into, I mean, I'd never been in such a space, which had the, you know, arched stone architecture.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I mean, It was old, right? Yeah. Like, we are in a pocket that holds a lot of history and culture. And anyway, the bathroom itself was so fascinating to me that I was like, what's happened here? What kind of stories? How, you know, of course the toilets have changed, but I bet the bathroom is the same, and the same with, like, I don't know, just these iconic spaces. Like in Kalamazoo, I would think of Club Soda. I would think of Bell's before it became what it is now. Like, I remember visiting Bell's when they had a ping pong table on the first floor, and like, it was, you know, it was exciting because the craft beer movement was taking off, and it was really making a name for itself. And Larry Bell was around all the time, and like Eccentric Day and what that was, and some of the original sort of, like Rob Scala, who was like one of the original brewmasters there, who created a lot of the recipes that made them famous. What happened in those bathrooms? Like, I'm just so curious about the story. So I don't have a specific story that I want to share with any of you podcasters, but I'm curious, like, just anonymously, like, if the Chronicles was started, I think people would be fascinated by the stories that unfold in bathrooms.
Yeah. So we can try to start this. If anyone has a story that they would like me to share anonymously,
I'll give it to you, Brian. You can start it.
They can send it to our Instagram.
But you got to call it
message.
Something different than Potty Break.
Well, that's what we had originally. Yeah. But what did you call it? Because I like
the Bar Bathroom Chronicles.
The Bar Bathroom Chronicles. That's good.
What kind
of
stories
that. That
unfold there?
Yeah,
because it's fascinating what can go down.
There can be some real pissers.
And just, you know, the things that happen in secret.
Yeah. Okay, the last one topic I had that I wanted to cover with you before we go to Off the Beaten Path. But I think it's kind of a fun little tie-on to gin in our family. So, when our Aunt Dee, who was our great aunt, was passing away, what did you sneak into the hospital for us to share with her?
Well, dear Aunt Dee, she loved gin.
Yes.
Tanqueray, I believe, was her
She always had that or
choice.
Bombay Sapphire, but almost always Tanqueray.
Almost always Tanqueray. I believe Bombay Sapphire kind of came like later on into her bar repertoire, but yeah. So she's on her essentially her deathbed and mostly unconscious by that time. But we snuck in.
You snuck in.
Okay, great. I'm so glad I did that for her.
Yes,
I
no, I am
snuck in
too.
some gin, and we just put some on a Q-tip, right?
Well, it was like a little, there's like a little sponge where, it was what they were like using to like wet her lips and stuff.
Yeah.
And we sort of used that, but you also like brought up stuff where the rest of us basically made like a gin and tonic.
Yes.
Yeah. It was very...
And then we just...
toasted her.
We toasted her to wet her lips, and she made a noise.
Yeah.
And to me, that was just this last send-off of joy.
It was great. So,
yeah. Oh, thanks for bringing that forward.
Yeah, no,
I'd actually forgotten about that.
Oh, no, I totally like remember that. That was like... It was just sort of perfect, like, in that moment and everything. So,
yeah.
It was good.
I mean, we can all only hope to be surrounded by loved ones when we die, and just the hospital environment is difficult.
Yes.
I mean, certainly, measures are there to maintain and sustain comfort, but it's not very warm. It's not very cozy, and you have to really create that love, and you have to create that atmosphere, and that was just the way that we did it.
Yeah, but it was like that was like a fun little bon voyage.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was good. Okay.
So we probably made that in the bathroom. See? Like, these are the things...
I think we just did it. Like, I think one of the nurses or orderlies walked in and we were just like...
Oh, right. Well, all I'm saying is this is the kind of thing that can be made in the bathroom, and then, like, things happen,
Exactly. Okay. Round 2 of trivia. Now you ask me.
Oh, okay. It's like, hey! Okay. The first known food pairing with gin was with which baked good that is commonly served in the shape of a man?
Okay. Wait, is it a multiple choice or I have to guess?
You have to guess. There is no multiple choice. I'm so glad I got the multiple choice, even though I got it
So
wrong.
I have to guess the food?
I'll say it again. The first known food pairing with gin was with which baked good that is commonly served in the shape of a man?
The gingerbread man.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
You're right. Yep.
Why would you serve that with gin?
I know. The sweet would not pair well with the...
Or the ginger?
Yeah, you want savory.
Who's doing that?
Yeah.
That's a terrible idea. Mm-hmm. If I ever open a gin bar, we're not serving that.
Truthfully, we haven't tried it. So, who knows? But to the sound of it...
I just don't like gingerbread men to begin with.
Oh, I actually love gingerbread cookies, ginger cookies, but...
But do you want that with gin?
No.
No.
No, I don't.
I don't either. So...
Maybe they had more, like, difficult, like, hoochie type gin, and so they got something, like a sweet cookie to just, like, help it go down. They didn't have tonic water, right? Like,
no,
they didn't have bubbly.
No,
they didn't have all these, like, spirits
right.
that we get to make it fun.
Yes. You're making... I don't like it when you make sense like that, but you're making sense. Okay. Anything else you want to chat about before we hop into everyone's favorite segment, Off the Beaten Path?
I'm ready.
Okay. We decided I would go first.
Yes.
You're still good with that?
Yep.
Perfect. Okay. I've been racking my brain. First of all, I totally shot myself in the foot with this stupid segment. It's not stupid. Actually, I love it. The problem is I have to come up with something every episode. My guest only has to come up with one thing. If that makes sense. So like
Yeah.
when I sketch like, my original thoughts out, I have a check mark basically by every idea I had for Off the Beaten Path. So no, I'm really like trying to think of stuff. So I was trying to think of, all right, what's something, I don't do it all the time, but I like to try to tie in something maybe to my guest or the gin or something like that. And I'm like, okay, what's something I can use for Off the Beaten Path for this episode? And then it came to me this morning when I woke up, and it's sort of twofold. One, heater is a German name. Mm-hmm. Two, on our river cruise this fall, we will be going into Germany. So my topic today for Off the Beaten Path is a German series on Netflix called Babylon Berlin. There are currently 3 seasons that are on Netflix. The first 2 seasons are each 8 episodes long, and then season 3 is 12. And I believe there's a 4th season, but it hasn't been on Netflix yet. And I did read that it just got green-lighted for season 5. It's like the most expensive series ever made in Germany or something, is what I read. But the gist of it is there is a police detective. He is from Cologne, Germany. He sort of gets assigned and is transferred to a case in Berlin that's kind of like on the down low. But he is like investigating originally what's supposed to be a fairly just simple shut and dry case, they're thinking, of a porno ring that's run by the Berlin Mafia. But as time goes on, he ends up getting and finding out about this like web of corruption and drug dealing and weapons trafficking. And the show itself, it's when it starts off, it's like 1929 Berlin. So this is like post World War I. Allegedly, they're in this democracy, but they're not doing well. And it's sort of the beginning of the end of the democracy. Like, as the show goes on, like, fascism is starting to rise. And you can see that they're struggling with, like, parts within Germany are struggling with, like, the rise of communism. And they're starting to become more militaristic. And they're trying to figure out how they can get around stuff that was signed off during World War I. So, and it's a glimpse of Germany, sort of like before the rise of fascism, but it's like a really well done, good series. Yes, there are subtitles, but
they're great.
I think it's a really well done, like, how do I want to describe it? It's kind of like a snapshot to some extent of like pre-World War II Germany, and it kind of like shows you what's going on. It's got some really good, just recurring characters throughout it. I'm really hopeful that season 4 shows up, and I'm glad to hear that there's season 5, and I hope they both get onto Netflix. But if you're looking for something that you can kind of like, I mean, there's 3 seasons, so it's, let me think, 16. So there's like 28 episodes right now that would be out there. And if you're looking to kind of just like get lost in a different world for a little bit, I like highly recommend it. It's a really well done, good series.
What's it called?
Babylon Berlin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And it's on Netflix, and that is my recommendation this episode for Off the Beaten Path.
Okay. Well, I struggle with this one because I feel like I'm often way off the beaten path. So I'm like, what is relevant to bring into this segment that's not so far bushwhacking that is like, what is she talking about? But one thing that came to mind, which I think is worth knowing about, is a band that is a trio that... So Andy and I have 2 daughters, and it's been my mission to find music that we can all enjoy listening to together. Because if anybody is a parent out there and you kind of the kids can take over and you're like find yourself having to listen to things that are just so difficult to weather. There's a lot of that out there. And this band called Boy Genius, I love that this is a band that we all listen to. From my 13-year-old all the way to, my husband who's 40. I think you're 45. Yeah, Andy. So it's it's a female artists that are all sort of successful in their own right. But they came together. I don't even remember how they met and started playing together. It was shortly before COVID that they kind of released. I
believe they had all read Chronicles of the Public Restroom.
Yeah. Oh man, the things that are shared publicly. People are like, "What the hell happens in a public restroom that I'd want to know about?" And I'm just saying, you'd be surprised. But Lucy Dacus is one of them, one of the members, Julian Baker, who I've come to really appreciate. She actually opened for Sharon Van Etten and Angel Olsen, who are two singer-songwriters I would love to check out. They only play, anyway, they actually came to Kalamazoo. They only played a few cities and then Kalamazoo, Michigan at Bell's. I was like, oh my God, and I can't even make it.
They were at Bell's?
Well, Sharon Van Etten and...
yeah, but those two are at Bell's.
Yeah, the three of them. I mean, it was like a high-ticket situation, can't believe I missed that. Anyway, and then Phoebe Bridgers, who's kind of the most famous of the three, who is really skyrocketed in her own right. I would call them the genre of indie rock, indie folk singer-songwriter, but the chemistry of them is, I think there's a lot more to come. And then it's fun because as you get to learn about them, you can go into their solo artist files, and each one of them just is so talented and rich. But their collaborative work is exciting. So I find that they are sparking people across generations. And
that's nice. Do you know how long they've been playing together? Do they have more than one album out?
Yeah, they just released their second album. The first one came right before COVID.
Okay.
And actually, this album, it's Rick Rubin is really being featured in a lot of spaces, right? He's this producer that was behind Def Jam Records and
the Beastie Boys.
Well, I mean, really, when you realize, as I started paying attention
to.
He went...
Boy Genius?
Well, he was everywhere. I mean, if you actually look at how many people he was behind and
but way to tie in a lot of our conversation.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Too bad we can't play these artists without paying more.
It would bankrupt me and lose the house.
But I found out that they collaborated with him. They produced this latest album at his studio. And
it's awesome.
You can tell. It's just, brilliant. So, Boy Genius... That's what I'll say. Yeah.
Nice. Well, great one. I got introduced to them last week when we were up at Torch Lake.
Ah, yes. Through Ezzy?
Yes, exactly.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
She's a fan, so...
She's a big fan.
That was great.
Particularly Phoebe Bridgers, who's phenomenal.
Yeah, she loves her, so...
Yeah. She's very talented. I can't listen to her for too long, because it's... I don't know. I'm not that young anymore, and I have more aspirations.
Sure, yeah.
But I remember that era. I remember just feeling those things.
Yeah.
So, anyway, she's fantastic.
No, that sounds great. Well, I cannot thank you enough for making the trip up to record this episode. Any last things before we sign off?
Hope I'm still respected.
After this?
Yeah.
Oh, the respect will go... through the roof, potentially. With all 5 listeners, get ready. Get ready.
What's up, Jimmy?
If you have a story that you would like to share that Amie and I discussed, or...
With the Bar Bathroom Chronicles?
Yes.
I'll find some out.
Or if you have a gin you would like us to try, you can reach out to us through the podcast Instagram account, which is @TheBotanicalTrails. Otherwise... Thank you very much for joining us, and we look forward to catching up with you the next time.
Ciao.
Thanks for joining us. Feel free to subscribe to us on whichever platform you listen to your podcasts. Also, I want to take a quick minute to thank Darin VanderMolen for all of his help behind the scenes. Without him, this podcast probably wouldn't even exist, and his help is greatly appreciated. Hope you have a great week, and we will look forward to seeing you the next time we go down the botanical trails. This has been a Shits and Giggles production.